Welcome. My name is Susie West and I am the CEO at Shared Services Link. I'm very pleased to have with me today Bruce Hanavan, founder and president at Direct Commerce, and Billy Williams, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Direct Commerce. Hello, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thanks again, Susie.
Good morning. Thanks, Susie.
So great to have you back for Chapter 2. So today we're going to be looking specifically at e-invoicing, and we're centering this conversation on a client of yours who is a $50 billion defense contractor. In fact, I believe one of the largest defense contractors in the world. So Bruce, if I can come to you first, if you could perhaps give us an overview as to what the story is with this particular account.
Sure, that's a great question. So this is the world's largest defense contractor, and I think the example here, what we're going to talk about is our ability to work in a complex environment. Last week we talked about dispute resolution for a large retailer. This is a defense contractor that had been drowning in paper, and they really needed a way to eliminate the paper and reduce costs. And the challenge for us was to work in a very complex environment. They were highly security sensitive as a defense contractor, and they also had a number of back-end systems that we had to integrate with. So by understanding their exact requirements, we worked through a number of very detailed processes with them to integrate with a number of back-end systems and deliver a simple, easy-to-use set of solutions for their suppliers. And we were able to do that in a very short amount of time and eliminate 95% of their paper invoices.
And as I understand it, and maybe this is a question for Billy, they attempted to reduce paper previously through evaluated receipt settlement and scanning, and it didn't work. Why was that, Billy?
That's right. Thanks, Susie. I think, there are a number of technical difficulties that we ran into in deploying this project. I think a few of them are ones that you mentioned there. Evaluated receipt settlement is commonly used, but although ERS, evaluated receipt settlement, aims to solve many problems, oftentimes suppliers are lacking information. Oftentimes suppliers don't even know that they're on the ERS program. And so what ends up happening is that there's sort of a void of information that exists, and then we can bring our tools and processes in to help fill those gaps. So in particular, ERS, line item conditions, down payments, how this customer handles down payments, all of these make the business process much more complex between our customer and their suppliers. And so by taking this information, putting it into a portal into which vendors can log in, look and touch and see the data, this eliminates the problems, and it's not simply automating the bad process, which our customers tried by implementing an imaging and data entry solution.
So this is a question for Bruce. I understand from what you've been discussing there then that it's quite a complex environment. They complex line items coming in on the invoices. Can you walk us through how your solution handled the complexity of these invoices and how indeed they were converted to electronic?
Okay, sure, absolutely. And I think this is a non-technical answer. I think the technical answer is somewhat complex, but at the end of the day, you have very large suppliers working with a very large buyer in some circumstances. So the buyer, our customer, can't just tell the supplier, you must do a certain thing. The supplier has systems as well. So direct commerce sort of functioned as that intermediary between two large companies that wanted to interact. They were strongly motivated to interact, but their systems worked differently. So we were able to be that flexible intermediary that bridged the gap between those two large organizations.
Okay, good. And Billy, if I can come to you and ask you about the vendor participation. I understand the vendor participation was particularly high. I have in front of me a figure of 98%. Was that 98% of their entire vendors? Was that 98% of a particular scope of a pool of vendors? And either way, very impressive. How did they secure such high participation?
Sure. So let's start out. It's 98% of everything. So we have a vendor rollout process and a vendor rollout team. We've done this sort of rollout many times over many years. So we're very well organized. We're well resourced in this area. This is a process that can be very difficult because when you're dealing with tens of thousands of external companies, sometimes it's hard even just to get the basic contact information, let alone to let them know how to log in and where to log in and answer all their technical and process questions. In particular with this customer, when we have things like ERS and line item conditions and multiple back-end SAP systems, it can be a very confusing process. So we bring our team and our process to the table. We attack it in a very orderly, methodical way. We rank the suppliers in terms of their invoice volume. We'll start at the top and work our way down. We try to make sure that we get early wins as quick as possible so that our customers can see that this system is actually working and that it gives them confidence as we roll out the remaining parts of the supplier base. And so at the end of the day, we ended up with this customer rolling out, like we said, 98% of their suppliers with, I think the figure was actually less than a year, but I think we commonly say it took about a year.
Great. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Do make sure that you join me next week for the third chapter in this series, where I'm going to be talking to Bruce and Billy about the Univar Corporation story. Thank you very much and goodbye.